All right, let's talk about Meta. This is a company that has been on an absolutely wild ride, completely rethinking its strategy and now making a massive bet on artificial intelligence. So in this explainer, we're going to unpack their incredible comeback story, get to the very core of their strategy, and try to figure out what it all means for the future.
And this gets right to the heart of it. On one hand, you've got this unbelievably profitable advertising business that's generating a literal mountain of cash. And on the other, you have that very same business pouring billions upon billions of dollars into a huge, expensive, and speculative build-out for AI and the metaverse. It's an incredibly high-stakes gamble, and the payoff? Well, that is anything but guaranteed.
So here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we'll dig into the high-stakes bet itself. Then we'll look at the incredible comeback story that made all of this possible. After that, we'll dive into the unstoppable ad flywheel that's funding the whole thing. From there, we'll see the sheer scale of the AI investment, check out the market skepticism, and finally, we'll ask the big question. Is this a success story in the making, or just a massively risky bet?
Okay, first up, the high-stakes double bet. And believe me, this isn't just a title, it's the core tension, the thing driving pretty much every major decision at Meta right now. So here's the deal, and it's super important to get this. Meta is using the cash from its superstar apps, Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, to bankroll a future that's, well, still a huge question mark. The present is literally paying for what comes next, and the central question is whether today's profits are actually enough to build that incredibly expensive tomorrow.
Now, a bet this huge, it just wouldn't even be on the table if they hadn't pulled off this incredible turnaround. Which brings us right to our next section, the efficiency comeback story.
Man, 2022 was a rough year for them, a real low point. But then, a huge turnaround. They called 2023 their year of efficiency, and this wasn't just some corporate buzzword. I mean, they didn't just tighten the belt, they performed surgery. They cut out projects that weren't essential, they completely rethought how they operate. It was a total culture shift.
And wow, you can really see the results right here. Just look at this. The net profit margin bounced back from under 16% in 2022 all the way up to almost 38% in 2024. That's not just a comeback. That's a statement. It shows that intense focus on efficiency really paid off.
And that efficiency? It was like pouring rocket fuel into their money-making engine. I mean, get this. Projections show that their core apps could pull in a staggering $46.6 billion in ad revenue in a single quarter. That right there, that's the engine that's funding this entire vision.
So how is that engine running so incredibly hot? What's the secret sauce? Well, that brings us to the unstoppable ad flywheel. This is all about the AI mechanics behind the billions.
Okay, so this is where AI stops being some vague, futuristic idea and starts getting real right now. Meta's got this toolkit called Advantage Plus, and basically, it uses AI to automate ad campaigns. You combine that with their new AI recommendations, and boom, you get results you can actually measure. We're talking something like 5% more ad conversions on Instagram and 3% more on Facebook. That's real money directly because of these tools. And what this creates is something called a virtuous cycle. You can think of it like a snowball rolling downhill. It's a powerful feedback loop where success just keeps building on itself, getting bigger and bigger.
And here's exactly how that flywheel works. It's pretty genius, actually. It starts with more user data, right? That data makes the AI smarter. The smarter AI creates better, more targeted ads. Those better ads, they attract more advertisers, which means more money. And what do they do with that money? They pour it right back into the AI to make it even smarter. See? It's a cycle that just feeds itself, creating this massive competitive advantage.
So what's the fuel for this whole thing? One word: scale. I mean, we're talking unrivaled scale. Nearly 3.5 billion people using their apps every single day. Think about that. The amount of data they have is it's so massive, it's almost impossible for anyone else to even try to compete.
Okay, so we've seen the engine, this absolute powerhouse of a business. But now let's look at the other side of the coin. What is all that money funding? And this is where the scale of their investment in AI just gets breathtaking.
So what does it really cost to bet the entire farm on AI?
How about $72 billion? And that's not over a decade. That's just the high-end estimate for their spending in 2025 alone. Just let that number sink in for a second. It's a monumental bet. And the craziest part, they're funding it all themselves from that core ad business.
But you can't spend that kind of money without it having some consequences. It puts real pressure on their cash flow. I mean, projections for just one quarter in 2025 shows $17 billion in spending could basically eat up all the cash they make from operations. And that naturally makes investors pretty nervous. They're all asking the same question. Okay, but what's the return on all this cash going to be?
And that question brings us right to the market's perspective and all the risks that come with this plan. This is what we're calling the show me gamble.
Yeah, this quote really nails the vibe on Wall Street. Everyone agrees the core ad business is a beast. But for all this future stuff, the metaverse, the advanced AI, they're in show me mode. The time for just talking and spending is over. Meta has to start showing some real, tangible progress.
And it's not like they're doing this in a vacuum. They are facing some major headwinds. That massive scale we talked about, it's an asset for sure, but it also paints a huge target on their back for regulators everywhere, like with the EU's Digital Markets Act. Then you've got all the ongoing concerns about data privacy, the fact that Reality Labs is still a huge money pit with no proven return, and this constant pressure to prove they can make money from something other than just ads.
Okay, so let's bring this all together. Let's tie these two very different sides of the company together. At the end of the day, is this a success story in the making, or is it just one heck of a risky bet?
It's like you're looking at two different companies in one. You've got the foundation, that's the rock-solid, incredibly profitable ad business that's already getting a boost from AI. And then you have the call option. That's the speculative, high-risk, high-reward bet on what the future of computing even looks like. The payoff could be enormous, or it could be nothing.
And that brings us right back to where we started, to that central tension. Look, Meta is all in on this. They're committed to years of aggressive spending. So the big question, for investors, for the tech world, for all of us, is this. Are the monster profits from today's ads enough to keep everyone believing during this long, expensive, and really uncertain journey to an AI-powered future? So I'll leave you with that. Which Meta are you betting on? The solid foundation or the risky moonshot?